Yeah, let's do some shooting. And there she is. Feels very well made. 5 shots in 2 seconds at 3, 5, 7, and 10 yard. Somebody is gonna win a Traeger right now. Oh, God, this God, I want to just throw it. One in the chamber. How about that? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Concealed Carry channel. I'm Grant McLean. Today we have part 2 for the Rock Island M1911-A1 in 10mm. One of the things I forgot to do in part 1 was talk about the specs, which we'll jump into here in a quick sec. Let's knock out this part, the thank yous. Thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to help support the channel, greatly appreciate it. Go into the description below, check out that Patreon link. And then if you need to get anything, visit nwarmory.com. The folks at Northwest Armory have been awesome to us, so let's make sure to take care of them. And visit X-Hunt Targets. X-Hunt Targets are the guys who do the awesome reactive targets that we use here on the channel. So you can get some of those, xhunttarget.com, and have them shipped right to your house. They are perfect, especially if you live in somewhere where the weather isn't that great, because these are actually weather resistant. So let's talk about the specs, because I forgot to do that in part 1. So again, this is a Rock Island Armory M1911-A1 chambered in 10mm. You may also see it as the Rock Island Ultra FS. Okay, so this is the model that does not have the front rail on it, because they make almost the exact same thing with a front rail. So you have to keep that in mind if you want to do some sort of light laser light combo in the future. It's going to come with one 8-round single stack mag. Some of them will come with 2. This one came with 1. I'm still trying to figure out with the rhyme or reason which ones do and don't. They're not expensive mags. Has a 5-inch barrel, so it's full-size gun. The length on this is 8.74 inches. Call it 8 3/4 inches. It is it's a long freaking gun. Height, it's 5.5 inches tall. The width is 1.3 inches, so pretty typical of a 1911. And its whited spots are going to be the safety there. So this is an ambi safety. We're going to talk more about more in-depth stuff here in a second, so I'll try not to get too far ahead of myself. The weight on this is 2.5 pounds, so nothing too abnormal when you're looking at 1911s, because they are metal on metal guns instead of having that polymer frame there. The MSRP of this gun is $749. So fairly inexpensive for a 1911, and 1911's chambered in 10mm. From what I've seen in the market. Let's go into the range review, talk about what we did here. So, if you've never seen this, we do 3, 5, 7, 10 yards. Our goal in this is to do 5 shots in 2 seconds. So it's kind of to emulate a rapid fire self-defense situation. All right. So our 3 yard is 1.6 inches. Our 5 yard, 1.8. These are 2, in my opinion, good groups right there. Now, things started to get a little wild here. When I was at the range, and we recorded there too, my first shot was here, and then my next throw, I was like, oh, I'm a little high. I could see that. Boom, little high, and then I went low. And then my next 3 were down here, and I was like, I'm a little low. And then when I went high, I completely compensated, went skyrocketed way up here. I felt like those were a little low. All of these are definitely going to hit steel in a silhouette. They're all going to be center mass as well, but nonetheless, I'm kind of like perfectionist. I want them to all be perfect in the middle because, you know, this is on the internet and the internet's forever, right? So I want my groupings to be tight. But no, it wasn't bad. Had I not probably sat there and around with it and went up and down, you know, I would have had really good groups if I would have just left it there. And yeah, it would probably have been off of the 0, but this is the first time I did a quick little warm up, getting kind of used to the sights on this gun, and then I basically jumped right into this after about 10 rounds. So I'm not too disappointed, and I know with practice it's going to get better. The 10 yard, this is pretty good, 3.4 inches at 10 yards. So I think I kind of gathered my thoughts after this and said, okay, you know what? Just keep the sight in the center. just the groupings are going to be what they're going to be, whether they're here or there, you know what I mean? Just try to, keep it that way. And that's our result there. One of the things that I found is during the warm-up with the gun, this had one hell of a time locking back on the last round. And I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, why is this not locking back on the last round? It's ejecting the round just fine, just not locking back. And I can't be for certain, but I think that it has to do with this magazine. I had another 1911 magazine, and it seemed to lock them back better. But on this model, so this is the one that came with it. And check this thing out. See that? Look at this. That is some dog right there. So I would 100% just toss this thing out and then get you like a Wilson Combat. So this is one of my Wilsons, and this has the plastic follower in there. And this, I really like these magazines, let alone they are an extended mag. But yeah, I would certainly look into replacing these. When I use the other mag, 1911 mag in there, I did find that it would lock back more consistently. Outside of that, the gun itself, it's a decent shooting gun. It's not like my favorite 1911 I've ever shot, but at the same time, it's not $2,000 and above. That's $750. This is certainly something that somebody can go to a store who's been wanting a 1911 to add to their collection. Maybe it's not their main carry gun or, main gun that they shoot, and they've always wanted a 1911, and yeah, there it is. Now they can get into one and go have fun with it. And you know what? If it jams here and there or whatever, they got to put a magazine into it. It's not a ton of money that they're putting out in the first place. At the same time, this is one of those guns that people who want to own 1911s and want to become proficient at them and stuff like that, I feel like this is one of those guns that you could buy, and you're going to learn a lot about the things that you do and don't like about 1911s and what you look for in that next 1911. And, this is kind of like one of those stair-step guns of, oh, I have one, I shoot it, and then it's like, I would like if, maybe the sights were different. Or if it had front serrations, it had a rail, it had different characteristics on my next 1911, setting you up to make a better educated decision when you're ready to spend that $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a 1911. So in that case, these guns, they're inexpensive. Some people would say they're cheap. Yeah, I feel like, yes, you are taking a risk of maybe having more malfunctions, failures to eject, failures to feed, things like that, but it kind of comes with that price point, you know what I mean? Down the road, maybe send this into a custom shop or something like that, have them go through the gun and make it more reliable. Those are things that now you know to look at and address. But you might also, fingers crossed, get a really, really solid one that you don't have to do anything to and you just run the crap out of. Who knows? But just keep that in mind. All right, so let's talk about this gun. We'll go from top to bottom here. So with the front sight, these are dovetail sights, and they are, the rear sight is adjustable. The front sight is a fiber optic sight. It's very, very easy to pick that front sight up. You have a 3-dot sight. So you have 2 dots in the rear, white, fiber optic, red one in the front. Super easy to pick up that front sight and place it right in between those two. The rear sights, they're metal as well, which is nice, but they are adjustable, so you can kind of, adjust this to your liking. The coating on this, like I said in part one, one of the first things I noticed was the coating on this is, in my opinion, it's way better than the last Rock Island that we did on a review. The sheen is better. It looks like just the overall consistency of it is better in that regard. There's a little bit of wear from a holster. This is a pre-owned gun, so there's a little bit of wear, but nowhere near like the other one. That other one looked like it was really well worn. This does not have the front serrations, and they do make a model that does have front serrations, so if that's something you want, cool. Now, down here on the frame, they also do make a model that has the rail on there. So, like I was saying earlier, If you think that you're going to put a light, laser light combo, and you want to put it on that front rail, just get that model. This one here is a little bit more modernized, like old school GI model that they've put like the G10 and changed out, you know, a few of the like the sights, and then they've done the skeletonized trigger and the skeletonized hammer and kind of brought it up new age, but it still has kind of that classic look to it. But you can still get like a laser sight, you just may have to have it as part of the grip panel itself, like from Crimson Trace or something. Going back here into the controls, the safety is ambidextrous, which is cool. The slide lock and release is going to be on the left side, so that's traditional right there. It does have some nice checkering to that slide release, slide lock if you want to call it that, so it's very, very easy to get a hold of that and push that down with your support thumb, no problem. The hammer, it's nice, skeletonized look, and the serrations on here are sharp, but not too sharp to where if you're manipulating this with your thumb without a glove on, it's gonna, like, you know, gnarl up your thumb or anything. Let's go ahead and jump into the trigger here. It's not a bad trigger. It's not the best trigger, but like I said, we're $750, so, you know, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But let's go ahead and do a couple dry fires here. You can see there's a little bit of take up there, and this does have some adjustment to it too. So you play around with it to your liking. And you're going to hit that wall, and it's a very crisp break. Just right there. It's not a super light trigger, you know, like I was saying with some of these other guns I have, like, you know, the Staccato or that Nighthawk back there. That thing is a very light trigger. This is probably 4.5 pounds, which is fine, especially if you're looking at other duty guns, like, say, a Glock or a SIG, for instance. You're looking 4.5 to 5.5 pounds, somewhere in there. Let's check out the reset. Right there, that's it. Nice short reset. Not super loud, though. It doesn't really sling your finger forward or anything, but it is a nice short reset. Right there. There you go. So not a bad trigger, especially for the money. The magazine release has some nice checkering to it as well. If you have short hands, you know, smaller hands, I have medium-sized hands, it might be a little bit out of your reach, so that's one thing you're going to want to practice. So just kind of shifting your hand forward, you know, sliding that thumb forward a little bit. In these grips, they actually cut out into that G10, so your thumb can rest nicely in there and move a little bit better through those G10 grips. And these grips are nice. I love the look of them, and they feel really good. They're not very wide. You could definitely get thinner G10 grips if you wanted to, but they may not be as ergonomic as these are. So nice thing is, these already come with the gun anyway, so you can play around with these, see if you like them or not. If you want to swap them out, there's a lot of good grip companies out there that already, you know, make these. Now, up here on the front strap, one of the things that I wish this had is I wish it had checkering that matched the back strap, that matched the magazine release and the slide lock release there, and just kind of gave it a little bit more grip up front. That is one thing that I wish they would have done, but if that doesn't bother you, no worries. On the back here, you'll see, you know, you have your palm safety there, your grip safety, which functions just fine. You have some nice aggressive checkering, not too aggressive though, but it's nice and grippy. I do like that. And then they actually did a magazine magwell in there too. So that magwell, it doesn't really complement the everything else going on here. It definitely looks like an aftermarket add-on, but it's nice that you at least have it from the factory already on there, which is cool. So yeah, it's not like this giant flared magwell, but yeah, it looks good. And if you're using like the 8-rounders too, it doesn't make this look like it's sticking out the bottom so much. It looks like it really kind of tucks in nicely to the gun. The magazines themselves, like I said earlier, I would probably swap them out. That's my opinion on it. Let's take a look at a couple other magazines. So what I'll show you guys here is, you know, because the magazines are kind of a topic about this gun and its functionality. So I have my Dan Weston here, and here's the magazine that came with it, and you can see it has that flare to it at the bottom. So we'll go ahead, maybe you can order one of these from Dan Wesson. I think Sig Sauer actually uses pretty much the same magazine. They're probably Metgar magazines. Here is Wilson Combat with the extension. So that's their silver one. And they also make it in black. So here's one of the black ones. So if that little back piece there drives you crazy, you know, being silver on the other one, just go ahead and order a black one. There you go. Those work out well. So you do have options. Getting one of these, you know, the MSRP is $749, but you'll probably see it in the market for less. And then just put into your budget that you're going to get a couple magazines aftermarket wise, like Metgar or Wilson Combat or Chip McCormick or something like that. And I think you'll be pretty darn happy with that purchase. And then when you're ready to graduate from this platform, maybe to another one, unless you're just completely satisfied with it, then yeah, you just take those magazines with you. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. I would love, if you own one of these guns, to put down in the comments your feedback in owning the gun. Also, if you looked at this gun and you considered something else, what did you consider and why? Make sure to hit that like, subscribe. Definitely helps out the channels, helps people find more information about guns. And make sure to check out our sponsors. Our Patreon page is in the description. Check that out. Northwest Armory at nwarmory.com. And then, of course, X-Hunt targets. Make sure to order up some of those targets. They are fantastic. I think you'll be really happy with them. So anyways, thanks guys for joining me, and we'll see you next time here on the Concealed Carry channel. Shifting your hand just slightly over, pushing that thumb forward. Oops. I'm back.